Last week's indictments against more than a dozen Russian individuals and organizations are increasing concerns about the safety and integrity of this fall's midterm elections. Tonight, correspondent Peter Doocy looks at some of the biggest vulnerabilities and what is being done about them.
To figure out how to stop Moscow from meddling in the midterms, dozens of secretaries of state spent the long weekend in Washington for meetings that started with a peek at Putin's playbook in the latest Mueller indictment.
That was $1 million a month operation. So that gives me an idea of the resources that we're working against.
Most of that money went towards propaganda.
The biggest threat seems to be from the American public believing the many false stories that were told out there during the last election.
But voting systems are vulnerable too. 21 states were targeted by Russian hackers in 2016, and many networks are still flawed.
The endpoint security on most of those electoral systems is outdated, and it can't match up to the modern-day weaponry being created by the Russian cyber adversaries.
During the 2016 cycle, the FBI felt the system was safe because it is so spread out.
The beauty of the American voting system is that it is dispersed among the 50 states, and it's clunky as heck. It's not exactly a swift part of the Internet of Things.
But things have changed now that more precincts have Wi-Fi.
What's happened is, as the states have evolved with their use of technology to facilitate voting, to increase the number of voters, to improve the process of voting, they've expanded the attack surface that can now be penetrated by foreign adversaries.
This weekend, 2 classified briefings were held for election officials from every state. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence says the sessions were all about, quote, increasing awareness of foreign adversary intent and capabilities against the state's election infrastructure, as well as a discussion of threat mitigation efforts. A DHS official tells Fox News that right now, 32 states and 31 local governments are receiving remotely operated cyber hygiene scans for vulnerabilities, and 14 states have requested on-site risk and vulnerability assessments, which won't be done till mid-April. But the DHS Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen is telling state officials it's still ultimately up to them to keep elections secure.
She has absolutely no desire or no intention to take over elections and to run elections from the federal level down to the state level. That was the thing we were the most enthusiastic about hearing from Secretary Nielsen.
The first primaries of the 2018 cycle are 2 weeks from tomorrow, so there is a great sense of urgency to beef up cyber defenses, even though there is still no publicly available evidence to show that Russia or anybody ever hacked a polling place in 2016 to change a ballot. John.
Boy, they got a big task ahead of them, Peter, no question about that.